Meanwhile, France not backing down from that tech tax that it wants. As you know, the president responded, they start taxing our technology, we'll start taxing their wine. At Stanford School of Business lecturer Dave Dodson. Professor, where do you think this is going?
I think it's just a ploy to get the Napa Valley vote, right? Taxing the French wine.
It could help.
Now, look, as tax policy goes, this is actually pretty fascinating stuff, and I'll tell you why. France, after having tried to form some sort of union between the European Union and the OECD countries, decided to fire the first cannon shot in what is a $7.6 trillion shell game between multinational corporations and sovereign nations who are trying to collect tax revenue. And the reason for this is really interesting. The tax code that basically governs our international tax treaties was written about 80 years ago. But over the last few decades, commerce has really changed, right, to intellectual property, patents and so forth, and selling information over the internet. And this tax code written 80 years ago does not know how to deal with that. And that's why we have these multinational corporations, plenty of them are, of course, located in the United States, who are paying ridiculously low tax rates. And what I find interesting, Neil, is the side that the U.S. is taking right now. Because remember, it was, 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, that the U.S. was pounding their fist on the table because Apple had diverted $128 billion of profits from the U.S., our country, to Ireland.
Right. And, what's interesting at that time, the whole concept behind, or the genesis behind the tax cuts, or corporate tax cuts, were to make ourselves more competitive so that they didn't have to do the Irish thing or go and seek out lower tax shelters abroad. Now, what I'm wondering, what are then the French up to here? I mean, obviously, they're looking for revenue. It's not enough that, the items that these companies sell in France are taxed in the local currency, or the euro in this case. But they want more. I mean, where is this going? Because someone said this goes beyond just a single tech concern. It could widen out, and all of a sudden, you're upping the ante, not with tariffs, but with taxes.
Oh, yeah. No, it is going to widen out because this is a big issue. And like I said, it's close to $8 trillion of taxes that are not being collected by sovereign nations. So what France tried to do is they tried to get the European Union together and say, let's have what they thought would be a 3% tax rate on revenue. And there's a curious reason why they picked revenue, but they said on revenue. But you have to have all the countries, all 38 countries, agree to it. And no surprise, Ireland, for example, said no, because they got a good thing going and they don't want to end that. So France said, fine, we're going to get the party started. And so they're issuing this tax rate. But look, Italy, Spain, Britain, they're all going to probably be on board with it because everybody is losing a massive amount of tax revenue. And so we're going to see something play out here that I think is going to be the beginning of the rewriting of an 80-year-old global tax code.
While I have you, Professor, we're going to be addressing as the next segment, but I'd be curious to get your take on Britain now intent, by hook or crook, one way or the other, to leave the European Union by Halloween, with a deal, without a deal. Who does it hurt more? The consensus is the Brits are putting themselves at the short end of the stick. Others are arguing that it's the Europeans who are concerned because if Britain lives another day and the sun comes up, then all those fears might have been overplayed, and it's the European Union that has to worry.
Well, first of all, I think it's curious that they picked Halloween to make that make or break day. And he's kind of boxed himself in a corner here, so he's probably going to have to stick with that date.
Boris Johnson, you're talking about.
From the people that, pardon me?
Boris Johnson, you're talking about, right?
Yes, exactly.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think most of the commerce between Britain and the EU and also outside of the EU has already sort of taken into consideration what's going to happen when Britain leaves. So the exact terms on how Britain leaves probably is not going to have a big impact on the global economy. It's interesting, though, that you brought up both of these topics because this whole issue about how the old tax code was about how to build things and sell things. And as we move to this new technology or new information technology, you have this shell game going. Well, with Britain stepping away from the EU and saying, we're going to go it alone, they have an interesting opportunity because they could either seize that and sort of take advantage of it at the expense of the European Union, or it could go the other way around. And I actually think that that's going to be the real thing to watch going forward.
Very interesting. We'll know soon enough, right? Professor, good seeing you again. Thank you.